And I make words of smoke and mirrors. This episode, of course, is brought to you by the Blob. You know, that pink thing that just it rolls over everything in front of it and just kind of just gloms on anything that there is and just it just sucks it up and makes it its own thing. And it's just a horrible thing. It's brought to you by the Blob. Also brought to you by Frankenstein's monster. And now, here's the song. Fair, 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 fair. Your turn. I turn that. Fair, 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 fair. Your turn. And now, here they are, your host, Carlos Kareem Wyndham. I told you what it was going to be like watching me do this whole intro. We ain't even there yet. I ain't even said your name yet. Wait. Okay. Oh, my God.
I was not prepared.
Listen, you can't be prepared. Okay, here we go. We're going to edit all this out. All the regular viewers and listeners, don't worry about this. This is great. Oh shit, it's 421. I forgot why we're even here. Hey, if you're here for that reason, join me. Get in it. If that ain't your thing, don't worry about it. We're going to have a good conversation today. No pressure at all. Do what is healthy for you. Y'all hear that air horn? You know what that means. That means we really for reals here. We have announcements and some things to get into before we get into our conversation. And that is because people are interesting and make interesting choices. We're going to talk about some of those. But first, want to let you know, I'm very excited about what we're doing here together under the Philosopher's Tree next week. On Tuesday, this has been a long time coming. A collaborator, a friend, it's all sorts of bullshit I could say about his credentials, right? Like I could be talking about the fact that he sang with David Byrne of Talking Heads. I could be talking about the fact that he toured the planet and the United States several times over with the Horde tour with his own band, all sorts of other shit. Really though, do you know what? He's a sweetheart and he's my friend and he's a very sweet soul. And y'all know, I am not somebody who is fond of many men. So if I'm here with somebody, it means something. And I will be here with Red Ray Frazier. On Thursday, August of 6th at 4:20 p.m., I'm going to be here with another artist. I'm going to be here with Shauna L. Howard. Shauna is a seamstress, is a singer, is an arts advocate, is a dancer, is exactly who we want to be talking to. You know what I'm saying? We're getting into Black August. We're going to talk some black shit through much of August. And so on Thursday, we will be here with Shauna L. Howard from Los Angeles. I think that's going to be a very good conversation as well. Welcome, everybody. It is good to see you. So, some things have been on my mind. Look at Siri trying to get up in my conversation. Only in my ears. Y'all can't hear when she do that, but it is ridiculous. It's literally like having a fifth voice in my head trying to interject into this conversation, and that doesn't work. So, we know what it is to have unwanted voices interjecting into conversations. And we know what it is to work well as we are. We've talked about this, and I have been somebody who has been applauding the work because Dateline Portland of many of the people who have placed their bodies on the front line in the name of Black Lives, in the name of Black Lives Matter, and in, of course, the name of solidarity. Solidarity for white people, as we have talked about, meaning it is your job to go get the coffee, do what the fuck you're told, and sacrifice your bodies. Because we've been trying to told you this shit since 1617. And y'all, sometimes, not always, sometimes a thing you are prone to do is to white lady it up. And, I have, on occasion, given hope and credence to people. And there are other occasions where I have said very specifically to some of these folk, listen, I will do this with you, but if you white lady this shit, I am out for good and for real, because I have saved your ass from 2 white ladies already. You will not be the third. Okay. So I've talked about this with people directly, indirectly. I teach about it. I'll teach white people if they want to know. Usually they don't. Dr. King talked about that. It's not a new opinion. One of the things, though, is that the white moms who had placed themselves at the front line at the federal courthouses here in Portland over the last several nights. God bless. Many had done so as asked. Our friend of the show, Kristen, is one of these. She took a bullet to the face, one of them rubber ones. It's some serious shit. She one of the real ones. And we asked for there to be some John Browns in this world. Now, it seems, though, that some other people thought that it would be better than to be a John Brown, to be a John Adams, or in this case, a Jane Addams, and get their signature all the fuck over it, as though graffiti isn't part of the thing that this whole shit is about. And I don't want to get too much into the details. I'm not here to drag folks, but I will read a structure and a system to filth. And the system and structure that I'm going to speak to specifically is this. The revolution will not come with a 501c3 or a board of directors. It's almost as like y'all didn't learn fucking shit from your so-called Million Women March. I don't know if you remember that when you said that, that's when Angela and the black women said, hey, you know what? There was a Million Man March. And you know what? That was actually not about white people in any aspect ratio whatsoever. And so you might want to start over. And y'all did. You did a very nice job. It was fine. It was sufficient. We could have did without the pink hats. That was some bullshit. It's not my place. It's not my thing. But let me just say out loud, all vaginas aren't pink. Weird choice. But the thing of it is that even though you got Janet to show up, you got Angela to show up, you got my sister Alicia to show up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, personal friends that you got to show up. And I was very glad to see it to a point, which would have been seeing y'all back in the streets for real. Not back in the streets trying to figure out how you are going to get a copyright and a trademark on your stickers, on your t-shirts, and your stupid pink hats. Get the fuck to the back. Sisters, let us know what you need. Y'all all right? Y'all all right? They always be doing that shit. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. They got rid of the syrup bottle. Well, one, I mean, the other, the Mrs. Butterworth, I mean, the ambiguously black syrup is still here, but the slave syrup gone. So anyway, I have a guest today. Y'all a mess. I have a guest today. My guest is not a mess. We're going to be speaking in short order with somebody who I had known, I'm going to say peripherally and tertiarily up till now. So I'm very, very excited. We had, I think, maybe I'm going to guess, second direct conversation in off and on 25 years of being in the same ciphers. And I have been continually impressed because we do know many of the same people, and the people that I know have good judgment. And the good judgment that was dawned to me is this: hey, if we're going to be spending the time thinking and talking about this transition of Javier, as we did yesterday,
Mhm.
talking about the angel babies, talking
Mhm.
about the passage of life and death and mourning, which there is going to be
Mhm.
very, 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 very much space necessary for and very much space to hold in the
Mhm.
not too distant future because of,
Mhm.
of, of choices that are being
Mhm.
made right now, nationally and globally.
Right.
And on this same anniversary of the
Mhm.
celebration of life, second anniversary of celebration of life of my mother,
Mhm.
I thought it would be a beautiful time to celebrate life and to talk about the celebration of life. And so
Yeah.
today we are talking about the other side of the cycle. As we know, this is a one way
Yeah.
conveyor belt. It only goes one direction, and the other reality is that nobody gets out alive.
Mhm.
But in between, we do have the time to be here together on this earth, and there are people not only obviously the folks who do the work to deliver the children to the earth through their vessels, through their bodies. Women, mothers, folks with wombs for whom those labels don't necessarily apply. Uh, there are folks who help them. And there are folks who have helped them long before
Yeah.
the system was Frankenstein,
Mhm.
taken over by medical professions and white doctors, which is again not to dissuade, but to just to understand that there is a history
Mhm.
and there's a space. And one of the spaces that is the most important is that, in my mind, of doula. And I would like to learn more about that and to hear more, in particular, about my new friend Asatu Hall and the work that she has been doing as founder of Luna Nueva Wellness Center. She is a dancer. She is an artist. She is a community leader. She is a doula, as I said several times, because that word just feels so good in my mouth. Please welcome, under the philosopher's tree, Asatu Hall. Welcome, Asatu. Such a pleasure to have
Hi.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Hey.
me. Can you hear me well?
Oh, absolutely,
All
absolutely. You
right.
sound great. You sound great. How you doing today?
Great. And so, in just in our traditions, I'm just going to just say, I would not be here without my ancestors and the work that they have done,
Ashe.
and all of my ancestral mothers for inspiring me. I would say igniting me on
Mm.
this path. But also, I want to just make a slight correction. Luna Nueva is a collective. It's a
Okay.
collective,
Thank you.
and I'm
Thank
one of
you.
the founding members, absolutely. But I'm one of the founding members with Holly Kalika, who's she's a medical herbalist, and Sabrina Pinal, who is a Reiki practitioner and massage therapist. And I have to call her Iyawo because she's still in her Yawo year.
Okay.
Luanda, who is a body worker, intuitive body worker. And so together we formed the Luna Nueva Wellness.
Excellent.
Yeah. So
Thank you
thank
so
you
much
for
for that
mentioning us.
clarification. Yeah,
No
no, I
problem.
mean, and that's right. Well, that's the thing, right? Because
Yeah.
obviously, right, the bringing life forth, that's not something that's going to happen singularly,
Mhm.
individually. But we
Yeah.
can get to all that. We'll get to all that. How
Um,
you holding up in this? How you holding up in this time? How's it been for you in
during the
the
COVID,
the age of Rona, the
anti-corona,
age of Trump, the age of the
age of
uprising? What?
all
How?
of it, all of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. How you doing?
uh, it- I think you said it so well. It is a frustrating time.
Mm,
It's almost like we've been talking so long, and they acting like it's brand new, that this is brand new conversations, that
Mm,
we're asking for freedom, we're asking for justice, for safety, uh, things that we deserve,
right.
things that we built this country. And so this is just human rights
Yeah.
all over the, this is just basic, this is basic. And
That's it.
so it's frustrating, but it's like, okay, so we have to break it down again in how many ways. If I have to explain this to another person who doesn't just get it by now, you know,
Girl, there's so many. I use so many metaphors at this point.
right.
I'm
It's
like,
like,
I don't even know what else to say. I'm like,
I
I
don't
talk
want to
to you
say
about
retarded,
superheroes.
but it's a little delayed.
Well, I mean,
So
in terms of social, emotional,
yeah,
and if we look at the true
right.
literal definition, right?
Hmm.
And you know, I say this as somebody who is extremely high functioning on the
On the spectrum.
whole spectrum. Okay, holding multiple thoughts to be able to host, produce, think of the next thing we gonna talk
Right.
about, do this, do that. Like I, you know, it's voice is happening all the time.
Yeah.
So, and
Cause
that said, and that
yeah,
said,
yeah.
the word
Hmm.
actually does mean to have a slow development and
Yeah.
or to be slowed. So from the
Right.
musical perspective,
Yes.
if we're talking about the rhythm, I would
Yeah.
like for people, yes, to get off of the retard. It is
Yeah.
time. It
Yeah.
is time to bring it up. It is time
Right.
to speed it up. It is
Right.
time to speed it
Yeah. Because
up.
I don't mean it in a derogatory, speaking to all of our wonderful, beautiful folks on the actual spectrum of learning. And just, I'm just talking about what you just said.
Yeah, we ain't talking
That right
about the
there.
lost children. I just want to clarify right now because I know you and I know, you know, because I
Yeah.
get literal
So
with my language too. I
yeah.
talk to folks
Right.
about like social intercourse and they be like, "Oh, what you just said?" I'm like, "No, no, no, no. That means
So
it
yeah.
means talking."
Right.
You know?
Right. So,
Yeah.
and but besides that, the other blessing, the has been the ability during this pandemic to refocus on what is important and
Mm,
prioritize, um, prioritize care, healing, the well-being of our community, of the Black community,
okay.
and that time with children. It goes so fast. So I feel blessed for those reasons, that I have more time to spend with my child
Yeah.
and my family. Even though we're apart, I've been more connected with elders
Mm.
across
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
world. That I really wasn't speaking. Took for granted. And so the slowdown has mean I have weekly conversations with my uncles in their 60s and
Mm.
70s,
Okay.
and my aunts. And so I give thanks for that.
That's fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's real. I was just in conversation with my father this morning,
Oh, beautiful.
and yeah, anyone who knows me or knows,
Hmm.
you know, my history or my comedy
Hmm.
knows that we have a
Mm.
complicated relationship. It's, you know, um, it's so you know, man's of a generation, you know, man's of a generation, and
Hmm.
he loves me very much and I love him very much. And so
Yeah.
we it's fine. We're good. We're good. It's
Yeah.
been really but it really has been very nice though because as we've been slowed down, yeah, it has forced us,
Hmm.
given us the opportunity, right? I think
Yeah.
well and forced, right? Because through
Hmm.
the long meditations, right?
Hmm.
Whether you want to be having them or not. I mean, you could fill
Hmm.
your ears with whatever you want
Hmm.
to, but your brain's still going like your brain's like,
Yes.
okay, we'll wait till 2 in the morning. We'll think
Right.
about it then, you know.
Right.
But through that, we have found a new familial closeness, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
It's been
yeah.
a good transition. It's been good. Is
Mhm.
there food you just done with right now? Some shit you just like, oh, this was my favorite,
Uh,
but you like, oh, if I got to eat this
um,
one more time.
uh, yeah, we were grilling
Uh huh.
because we never had time. So, and I'm vegan, so I had got into those, what did they call
The Beyond
these
Burger
plant?
joints.
Yeah, the Beyond, but the
Yes.
links, I don't know why. I just I hadn't had like a hot dog in 20 years. So I just loved the length. And then now I'm like, ugh.
Right.
I think I overdid it. Even you're not supposed to eat them every other day.
Yeah, no,
But
I
yeah,
I beyond burgered out at the beginning.
yeah,
I beyond burgered out at the beginning. I was very excited about the idea and the process. I was like, oh, I'm gonna
right,
go all planty. It's gonna be good.
right.
Um,
Uh-huh.
and I shared an oatmeal recipe
Mm,
here that
mm-hmm.
I really can hardly choke down anymore. I think that's it's like
Yeah,
eating glue,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
just done.
Let it go. Yeah. Try
Yeah,
something
yeah.
new. Reset,
Op-
reset.
Open it up. Open it up. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. So, how long have you? Were you born in the Bay? You're from the Bay, or you
Yeah,
got
I was
there?
born and raised in San Francisco at
Okay.
the Mount Zion Hospital, which is
Yep.
UCSF. Yeah. Yes, there are black people from San Francisco.
Many, many.
Many, 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 many.
I mean, God bless that
Yeah.
movie, and I'm glad that it's
Right.
successful. But fuck that movie. That's some
Right.
bullshit. It's black people in
Right.
San Francisco. The loin.
Right.
Hello.
Come on now. So yeah, I have been in the Bay Area. I've been in Oakland maybe 20, 23, 24 years. Across
Yeah.
the bridge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. At least that long. I
Never
think.
looked back. Like family, of course.
Yeah.
And my parents are actually buried on that side in Coma. So
Hmm.
I go.
Ibaye.
It's nostalgic. There's beautiful things, but like very few of my elders are in San Francisco anymore.
Okay.
Some of
Okay.
my peers are, but very
Yeah.
few of
And so
those
where
folks.
where are your
Mhm.
elders now? Have they been moving around because of the Gentro?
Yeah, everybody wanted houses. Sacramento,
Yeah.
Antioch, beyond for
Mm-hmm.
a bigger house and just to get out. So they,
Beyond what, like
well,
Vacaville?
yeah, sold those houses in Bayview and Fillmore, and and
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah, I do. I do. I was back. I was talking about this just yesterday, right? Because of course I was talking to somebody else in Oakland, somebody else in the Bay, and yeah, it is. It is. It is whitening as fast as my beard. It
Yeah,
is.
or the parts in my hair. Yes.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah,
I
and it's
like.
different. It feels like going to a European city. It's just, and they look at you
Mm, mm,
like you the guest, and I'm like, you driving around in circles. You don't even know
mm.
how to navigate in this
Yeah.
place. But
You don't know which ones are the one ways,
you don't
dummy.
even know which way you're going. And it's sadly, Oakland
Mm.
is feels that way sometimes now too, which is really
Well, that's where
because
I
it's
was, right? It's
yeah.
around the lake that was, I was
Mhm.
like, wow, okay. And West
Yeah.
Oakland,
Oh my gosh. I lived in West Oakland, East Oakland. I lived around the lake. It's
yeah.
also poodles in the deep east being walked at 11 o'clock. Why are you on Foothill walking a poodle? Could you go home and be safe? Just common sense.
I remember the first time I had lived in the Acorns, I had lived in the Bottoms. And I remember actually the way that I had met Alicia
Oh,
Garza was that she had ended up in a fender bender on my
oh,
block, right? And I had ran out to see what was going on to help out, whatever.
yes.
So it was real hood for a while.
Right.
But right before I had moved off my block, I saw a white lady like with a dog on the street, and I was just like,
Speed walking. No.
yeah, I'm just like y'all. So all y'all gonna mug me? Y'all gonna mess with me? Y'all little 12-year-olds gonna mess with me? But this little blonde lady, she just gonna be
Right.
walking down the street, and y'all is just good, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me get a German Shepherd. Shit, maybe
I
I don't know.
know.
Maybe I'm missing it. It's a mess. My God. So you obviously went to school. You were clearly
Yeah.
educated, and I read the bio, so I know there's a
Okay.
journey to get there.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that journey because you
Right.
traveled far and then came back. What was that like?
Yeah.
What was
I
the
originally went to Cal Poly to go to be pre med, and I found
okay?
out the sciences were not my cup of tea. I was doing it, first
Why not? What was
generation.
it?
I
The
wanted
math or the what?
everybody has to be a doctor, right? Oh, I'm sick. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I
Okay,
got you.
so I wanted to be the one for my parents.
Hmm.
I wanted to be a doctor, and it didn't work out. But then that's actually where I got my calling for midwifery. Um,
So what killed it at that level for you? I'm curious because I was go I was gonna be a lawyer.
right.
So the
Well, could it have been
Huxtabillion
the
dream.
could have been all the classes, it was a lot, physics, just the overwhelming amount of science, and I'm like, what does this have to do with people and
Uh huh.
healing
Okay.
bodies? Yeah, I and although I knew it was the preliminary and that the end goal was financial stability, hopefully,
Mm,
and Black doctors for our community, like I was that committed,
yeah.
that militant with my stuff. But I stumbled across, I went to go to Tulane to go look at the medical school with my friend, the School of
Okay.
Tropical Medicine. And I was probably just a sophomore.
Yep.
And this brother gave me a book. He was like our tour guide, a book called Spiritual Midwifery. Around the same
Yes. I
time, my
know that
best
book.
friend
I
was
know that
back
book. That book
home.
is amazing. That book
Right.
is amazing.
So this is kind of like what? First of all, there's midwives in this country. I didn't even know about the
Hmm.
legacy of the Black. I knew on movies, Gone with the Wind. You saw. I don't know about brother. I knew there was Black midwives
Right.
as a legacy in this country, but I
Yeah.
really thought they were gone, obsolete. And
Mm,
then he gave me that book, and uh, it started to plant seeds. And my best friend was pregnant at that time. She was going to San Francisco State and developed, actually, she was going to Davis and transferred. She developed what they call eclampsia, preeclampsia. And
hmm.
so she actually had a seizure and had to have a stat C section. And that's how her baby was delivered. I became obsessed with birth because I was like, you don't die at 21, right? Like, that is not the story. But I remember her telling me her white doctor told her that Black women have diabetes, was trying to get her only to gain 20 weight. It just sounded very different. It didn't sound holistic or
I'm sorry. I
natural.
was trying to get a gain only 20 pounds during a pregnancy.
Yeah, so she was swelling. Like, now after midwifery school, I now like, wow, you were all the indicators. You had headaches. You had all the
Wow.
indicators of preeclampsia. But this older white male doctor was feeding her information based on textbook. Textbook
Mm,
says a lot of things about Black bodies. And so I had this spiritual, and I was like, well, that's the kind of birth I want. This is
yeah.
natural. And one of my mentors is in the book, Mama Uma Salama, was the only Black midwife pictured in Spiritual Midwife. I met her years later, but it planted a seed. And so when I came back from break, I asked my advisor, "Are there any midwifery schools? My parents are gonna like die when I tell them I'm changing my course." But so I
So
that's
what was their expectation at that point? That was you were still on the medical track right then,
yeah,
or
that why would you well, first of all my siblings were born with a midwife except for me.
okay,
So that was the first thing.
okay,
My parents immigrated. My parents are from Liberia, and they met at San Francisco State during the 60s. So for them,
damn,
why would you, yeah, during Angela Davis was my dad's professor, like all
yeah,
this,
yeah,
yeah, they Black Panthers, they try to recruit my dad, just all this.
hell yeah,
So I had all that in my family. And so my parents were like, why would you go backwards? They felt like women don't have to have home births anymore.
oh, like
Women
being
don't,
subject, like there was a subjugation to be
yeah, like it
subjugated to
was, yeah,
midwifery.
like you should be educated to the highest heights, that's why we're here for better. So I didn't listen. I'm a stubborn Aries, and so I finished my little biology degree for them.
Hmm. Hmm.
but and, and I
Yep.
came, yeah. But everything led me. You know how when spirit works, everything led me to midwifery. Like,
Yeah.
I walked into a farmer's market and there was a table full of midwives in San Luis Obispo.
Mm.
When I came home, I saw a flyer for doula training. I started to see all this midwife stuff, and I started to get a sense. Well, and I never saw pictures of Black women giving birth in these beautiful candlelit settings. So I was like, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to bring this to my community.
Yeah. Well, and
And
ain't that some shit too, right? Because of what you were
mhm,
talking about, right?
mhm,
Their whole thing of it being the role and responsibility of black women to be the wet nurse,
mhm,
right? To deliver the child,
mhm.
to be the caretaker, to be the
Yes.
mammy,
Yeah.
to be the bed warmer,
Right.
right? And so the idea of the way that these systems of patriarchy and capitalism exploited black women's bodies
Yes.
continue to exploit, right?
Continue.
As you
Yeah.
look at who the care
Mhm.
workers are for these rich white people and everything
Right.
else, right?
Yeah.
And to have that cognizant dissonance, that break
Yeah.
built into us,
Mhm. Right.
right,
Right.
around this idea that, well, how is that a job and there's no pictures of us as of black women as midwives, like,
Right. Right. And that's, and what's so fascinating about that, because if you going to quote unquote white midwifery conferences,
yeah, yeah.
they honor indigenous and African midwives,
Well, ain't
but
that
it's
who they
only,
talk about first, huh?
yeah, they honor them. They talk about their books, they talk about their pictures as if they're like a relic, not giving honor in terms of this is why we're established, that's why we're midwives, but in that very exotic, like the midwifery in this country was established by black women, by African women of African descent, who delivered most of the babies in the South, like the majority of the babies in the South. And so they would do like a slide presentation, mention a few names. And I happened to join a Black midwives organization called the International Center for Traditional Childbearing. And we used to do our own conferences. And that's really, really what I learned about, because we would bring those women. I remember one of our elders was Margaret Charles, and I believe she was 103 at one of the conferences.
Wow.
Now, thousands of babies,
Wow. Come
white,
on now.
black,
Come on now.
indigenous in Alabama. So we got to meet and sit at their feet to learn
Wow.
that this is really, I mean, it went beyond just catching babies. So what they did, so these midwives, so when men came back from the war, they didn't have jobs. Men were not delivering babies. There was no OB/GYN profession. And so they created a profession. They
Now we
created a
talking about World War One,
profession,
World War Two.
World War II. So they
Okay.
created this profession by um, saying that these granny midwives, well, first of all, they were racist. So
Mm.
saying that these granny midwives were ignorant, uneducated, untrained, unskillful, even though they probably delivered you. And so they created this whole propaganda about black midwives being untrained and filthy and all these things. And so they entered themselves into the profession of delivering babies. They weren't even catching babies. Why they needed jobs when they came home from the war. And so they created licenses. And of course, I'm sorry, some of our granny midwives didn't have the Benny, we call them grand midwives, not even granny,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
had the
Mm-hmm.
benefit of being educated in that way in that Western school system.
Yeah.
Some of them were born on plantations and
Yeah.
been delivering and the herbalists all their lives. And so some of them were able to pass those exams and become licensed midwives in Florida, Alabama, but some of them didn't. And so then they had to stop the profession. And it's
Ain't that the
only,
shit?
that's always.
That's how they do it, though, right? It's like
Yeah.
as soon as they like, okay, well, we want to be up in this space, and we
Hmm.
want to take it over. So how we gonna do it?
Right.
What's the credential? Let's come up with a
Yeah. What's the
credential.
credential? Yeah. Let's come up with a
Oh,
credential
let's.
and make it unattainable. Make you can't even
Oh,
obtain it.
we formed a society.
Yeah.
We have a
Hmm.
society. I heard this
Right.
whole thing about the further racism within.
Mm.
I think it's the AMA. It is. It's the AMA,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
And the what it means to be AMA. There's some student certification, student award, whatever the
Hmm.
fuck that happens, right?
Hmm.
And of course, it's going to the doctors, the practitioners who are under the doctors, who of course recognize them as, well, this is
Right.
somebody who needs a chance. This is somebody who I want to put up. They remind me of me, bop, 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 bop. But who's not getting those recognitions, which then lead to long-term residencies, of course,
Right. Yeah.
are black doctors, black women, brown doctors, brown women in particular,
Right.
right? I mean, and quite frankly, it's the exact same thing that these
Right. Right.
individuals
Individuals do.
just
Yeah,
did
it was
at the marches up
exactly
here.
right. It was actually I guess I'm not gonna say messing around, but there's two paths to like becoming a midwife. You become a nurse and then you do
Okay.
additional training, or you do direct entry is where you apprentice. You have a
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
preceptor,
Mm-hmm.
you do all your education, but you follow a midwife for years. And so I chose that path because I wanted to learn traditional midwifery. I wanted to do
Yeah.
home births. I already knew that the hospital didn't love us unless it's an emergency. So
Listen.
I had that clear, and I was straight told she's a I'm not gonna mention names, a very prominent author and instructor, midwife in
Oh, I wish I
California.
could figure it out because I would mention the name. I
Woo!
don't care.
So
I got no shame. Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna
Go
tell you
ahead. Go
what she
ahead.
told me. She told me because I was in there, I was the only black one. There was all white, these white students, white girls. We would take these
Mm-hmm.
intensives. She told me, basically, she said, stop messing around and go to midwifery school. She told me that no one was going to apprentice me, that I needed to be working in my community. So don't waste your time. You can't do what these white girls are going to do because when they finish my classes, some white midwife is basically going to swoop them up and they're going to be able to be trained in this model. So she told me to start, and that's how I ended up in Texas. She
Okay.
said, you need to go on and go to midwifery school.
So she was truthing you. She was
Stop playing.
truthing you.
She gave me, yeah, she was, yeah,
Okay.
wrote me a recommendation
Because
letter.
you meet one like that, you meet a good one. You meet a good one. You can meet a good one once in a while who's at least gonna truth you.
Yeah. And
Just
I was
truth me.
like,
That's all I need. Just
I'm
truth
kind
me.
of on the fence. I don't know if
Okay.
I want to go to medical school still. And she was just like, jump into the fire. Your community needs you. And I thank her for that because
Ache.
she's was 100% real. And
Ache.
so
Okay.
then I went to
Oh, so we
Texas.
not spilling tea to protect people. Okay, good, 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 good. I thought somebody told you some shit. I was getting ready.
Oh
You
no,
don't
she
know.
didn't. She was just
You don't
very
know. I
like,
loaded up.
yeah. I was like, why? But yeah, I was like, why I gotta leave the Bay Area? But there weren't any. We have to do more. We
Yeah.
have to. We've been ingrained. We got to be better. I think she just was like, it's not. It's you will be messing around for 6 or 7 years when you
Mm,
can get to work in your community. So
mm.
I just don't say I honor my ancestor who spoke through her. How about
Okay.
that?
All right. All right. That. Hey, listen.
Right? I just honor the person.
Listen.
Yeah. Who gave
Listen.
me the message? Stop messing
Yeah.
around.
I tell
Yeah.
people sometimes, listen, I got rules with people. Look, I'm like, you can ask me anything you want to ask me, but if you ask me twice,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to tell you.
I'm gonna
Like,
have to tell
so
you the truth.
really, really think about, like, I'm gonna ask if you ask me something that I don't want to talk about, but be like, do
Yeah.
you really want to know?
Right.
But yeah, no, that's good. I'm glad
Yeah.
that you had, because when you get, listen, it's not that there's no good whites, right?
Mhm.
There are John Browns, but here's another thing about even that mode, and it's just so in my
Mhm.
head, so I'm gonna keep coming
No.
back to it.
Mhm.
That the thing about that, oh, we're getting an echo from someplace. That's crazy. But the thing about that is that as they place themselves at the front line and
Mhm.
continue to keep placing themselves at these front lines with or without permission, then again incorporating, setting the standard,
Mhm.
deciding, okay, if you ain't got a board of directors, you ain't really la la la. It's like,
Right.
who ever been in the streets with a board of direct? What are you talking about?
Right.
But that as folks historically, sociopolitically set those standards, set those out for themselves, they are
Right.
truly, truly, truly doing violence.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? It is an act of territorial
Right.
violence and an
It is.
act of thievery, quite frankly.
Mhm.
And the
Right.
repetition of it, and the fact that, as you said, the expectation that we got to be doing twice as much for half as much, right? Twice the work for
for half
half
as
as
much.
much.
Yeah, we have to
And quite frankly,
sacrifice.
I
Yeah,
think that's triple that
right,
for black women and femmes. Quite
right.
frankly,
Yeah,
it's so much more than that, right?
right. Yeah,
So you got to Texas.
right.
What was popping in Texas? Texas from the
Texas.
Bay, Texas. Talk to me. Talk to me.
My husband's from Texas, but I was in
Okay,
El
okay.
Paso, which is not like
That ain't
Houston.
Houston. That ain't. See. I know where they keep us. I know where we at. Booston, Houston.
I was like,
Booston,
dang,
Houston, nigga.
I did one of these damn. Where are my people? They were all on a military base, so that was a whole
That
nother
ass.
culture. That's a
That
culture.
ass. That is a culture.
That's a okay. So I was basically on so the border, and this is pre 9/11. So the
Okay.
border was fluid.
Okay.
So I crossed the border frequently to go to Juarez, to Ciudad
Mm.
Juarez, to the city. And we had to for school because 90% of at school, 90% of the women who used the birth center that was attached to our midwifery school were from Juarez, were
Mm.
monolingual Mexican women who had crossed from deep, deep down. So I learned, it was for me, it was beautiful because I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the politics.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about the border. I learned from those women who taught me about Afro Mexicanas from different parts, right? That I didn't know.
We out here. We
And
out here.
right. And I learned and I saw how if you have a whole group of interns who are all white and you have
Yeah.
one intern of color, uh so I got asked things, and I think I had like a full on experience that those white girls would never have. And not saying that takes away from their talent, from their skills, but it those I feel like I was held uh in a different regard.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was invited to christenings across the
Yeah.
border. I was invited
Yes.
to uh all sorts of things to yeah, of course there was a curiosity about the hair and stuff, but then there was
Sure.
really like how do you we I feel like this was it was a beautiful exploration. My Spanish skills came up because everything was done, all our citas were done in Spanish.
Right.
um so and I was prepared for that because the month before I went to school, I was in Cuba for a month, and my teacher had told me, because I was like, do I become a doctor? I'm still asking the question on my way to midwifery school. I'm like, getting a reading. Do I become a midwife? or and it's like it's
Like, well, like, don't ask what you already know. Why you
don't
asking
ask,
me?
girl, just go to school. Just go and
See,
get the
see.
training. Go to get the training and then come back to your people. So um I learned a lot of skills. It was very intense because we worked in a clinic, 24-hour shifts while going to school. So it's like a
Wow.
residency. So my learning skills went up. The learning curve was extremely high. Um, I learned a lot about herbs, and so I feel like I'm in the middle of where I
Mm-hmm.
learned tradition and I learned what I needed to do for licensing and certification.
Yeah.
But because of the women, I had to value their experiences and all of the tradition. And then I had some bomb mentors who were
Mm.
African American midwives who like stay there. I'm like, I'm tapping out. No, stay there. I want to go home. No, stay there.
Mm.
And we need you. So um, yeah, it was a great experience.
I
Like a
check.
rite of passage, like a definitely a rite of passage.
Yeah, yeah, for real.
Yeah.
That is so funny. My I just learned, and because
Hmm.
I'm a rat, I'll expose. And so if people tell me family secrets, it's like shouldn't have said that.
Hmm.
But my mother's passed, so she don't care no more. But my father told me that the wedding pictures that I have of them,
Uh-oh.
that was the second wedding because somebody, mama, thought it was a good idea to leave New Mexico and go to Juarez and get married. Yeah, 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 yeah. So,
Oh, so you know my stomping ground. Well,
yeah, yeah. No, it's
yeah,
that. Yeah, no,
right.
que familia. I mean, like to
Yeah,
even to hear right. Like I don't know that it can be put into words what it means for Afro Mexicanos, Afro Chicanos, Afro Latinos in the United States,
yeah,
right? Afro Indios, folks who are from here, from here, from
yeah. From
here,
here, yeah,
like me, right? Like
yeah,
because people be like, "Where you from?" I'm like, "Here." They like, "What you
yeah,
mean?" I'm
yeah.
like, my father is born from the South Bronx, right? But
Right,
we've got family who are Seminole. We've got family who are from the Carolinas.
right,
We've been
right.
here. On
Yeah,
my mother's side, my grandfather's from Guadalajara. We
yeah,
are the Coyotes from New Mexico.
yes,
So I am Flathead Hopi. I am
right.
Scottish from the Rapist Patron.
That's
I've been
right.
here. I've been
That's
here.
right.
I've
Okay.
been here. Before there was a here, I've been
That's
here.
right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And
Yes.
so, yeah, no, I love that whole area of the
Yeah.
world
Yes.
is just to me, I
Yeah.
mean, que gente. I start thinking about New Mexico and I start talking
Right.
like my people, like my
Right. No.
family, like,
Yeah. But yeah.
what are
Yeah.
you
It was.
doing?
Yeah. No. I really I learned so much. I was blessed. Like I said, I would go into waters without fear. I'm saying this is during the time when those women were, girls were
Oh yeah,
being
you could just walk.
murdered.
You could just go back and forth.
We
But
could
it was
just go
all
back
that
and
shit at
forth.
the
Right.
maquilladoras. Talk about what
Right.
was going on there.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think people have that history.
Oh my gosh. So girls were being murdered. Women were being girls because some girls were very young,
14,
16,
16,
14,
yeah.
left home from from low, from deep in Chihuahua to come work, at Nike, our factories. These were all Puma, Nike, all those factories. And then we're ending up dead. We're being found. And the outrage you saw mostly from the community, but it wasn't like all over national news. But it was,
No,
I mean, numbers, thousands and thousands. And when you go to Juarez, you see that I didn't, wow, or any border town where you see the folks, you see indigenous people who come to the cities to work. And so the language, it's not always Spanish that they're speaking. They're
no,
speaking, there's hundreds of languages in Mexico. That's the one thing. They
absolutely.
have so many languages. And so you see those women and you see how they're treated too.
Yeah.
So these young girls, and it's still a mystery, but I still wonder. I mean, who do you think it is? I think it's an amigra. I
It's La
think it's
Migra, it's the
cartels. I
cops,
think,
it's the
yeah,
cartels, it's the
it's
white
all
people
of
who be
it.
coming down
It's the
there.
white, yes, and think that, yes,
It's the
that they
same
don't,
people. It's the same reason
yeah,
that there's 200,000 missing black girls in the United
yes,
States whose names
yes.
we don't know,
We
but we
don't
know
know,
where they are, right?
right?
Everybody be talking about how they got turned out. Who you
Yeah, they
think turned
did.
them out in the first
Come
place?
on
It was
now,
the
yeah,
police. Come on.
yeah. Come
The
on, yeah,
police is the biggest pimps in Name Your City.
right,
In
yes,
Name Your City.
right, right,
And
and
this, what I
yeah,
didn't know when I got here in
hmm
Portland and in Oregon, in
hmm
terms of the sex trafficking and the sex trafficking of young girls, and the reality of there being a very viable and livable sex work
yes,
business up here. But the thing is, because sex workers do demand their rights, because they
right,
do try to work in coalition and collaboration together, for the
yes,
people who are being exploitative and who are in
hmm
there for the power, they're
yeah,
still looking to younger girls. They are
yes.
still taking advantage, and it is
Mhm.
still being facilitated in large by the police. And
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
understand.
It's too organized to not be.
It's just
From Oakland to Sacramento to Portland, Las Vegas. I mean, it's like a well, what's larger than a triangle. It's off the hook. It's like a slave trade.
it's
It really
insane.
is.
It's 200,000. I mean, come on now.
200,000. Come on
And the
now.
only ones
Yeah.
that there's, and not the only ones, but of course, right, we're on the maquilladoras,
Right.
right? They were looking in
Yeah.
particular in the late 90s companies that you named, and I would really, really press Levi's on that as well.
Levi's as well.
They were the worst
Definitely.
ones, right?
Yes.
That all of these maquilladoras, all of these people, what's happening there, what's happening here, the parallels
Yes.
is really about the positionality of power, assumed
Yes.
power,
Right.
right? And the unearned,
Absolutely.
undeserved privilege
Yes.
associated with the male bodies of the folks who were
Right.
doing the assaulting and the violence,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
very, very closely associated with the
Yes.
whiteness and the power that is
Yes.
associated with that capital, with that
Right.
money.
Right. Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah. It is a mess.
So
Yeah.
you were down there during that period.
I was down there during that period, and I
Wow.
returned for a few months when I went back to complete my license, and
Yeah.
that was post 9/11. So that's when, wow, it's military now. That's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
militarized. It was very different. You know, before I would, uh, like I said, I would walk, I would
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
drive, and you know, once in a while they'll be like, "Ah, did you come from Belize?" You know, like I would get the jokes at the border. This time it was like, "Let's search her car." It was very like,
Yeah.
you really think I came up from Panama? Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, you maybe you do, because now it's just in effect, and you're out of, yeah, very
You could have come from Panama. You could have come from Haiti. You could have come from DR.
anywhere,
I don't know where you came from.
anywhere,
That's real good Spanish.
anywhere. Come on now,
You're doing too
anywhere.
much.
You're right, you're doing the most. Yeah, so that
Yeah.
I have a deep love for that area. I love, yeah, those sunsets, that earth. Yeah,
Mm,
very beautiful. I have a lot of special people there.
that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
That's beautiful. And so you've been in community since, and
yeah.
so what have you been? What is the thing that is driving
Mhm.
how you're moving right now, especially right because we
Right.
are
Mhm.
in this
Yeah.
age of COVID, and I know
What?
that's got to be
Mhm.
transforming things for you.
Right. So, I mean, when I came from midwifery school, the statistics in Alameda County just alone, and I moved straight to Oakland, was that Black women died, had the highest rates of infant and maternal mortality and
Yeah.
morbidity. Still the same.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Alameda has improved, but that was my mission. My
Okay.
mission was at that time to, if you're having, even if you're having a hospital birth, I wanted women to know more about nutrition, wellness, the things that could prevent premature babies, things that can prevent those things that our mamas sometimes have, the high blood pressure, diabetes. Like, these are things that are intergenerational. Even the birth trauma is intergenerational. So that became my mission and passion. So I did start, like, it's called Sacred Groves Traditions, and we used to do an event called Oshun's Garden, and we did them like every 3 months, and it was a self-care day for girls and Black women. But we would have speakers, and you know, the brothers would come with the bata, we would dance, we would have vegetarian food. And
Gotcha.
that was because not everybody wanted to have a baby, but everybody can learn about health of all
Mm.
ages. Intergenerational women and men can learn about self-care. So because of we're in this situation now with COVID, and we know that sadly, you know, people of African descent, only in this country actually, because Africa is doing pretty well with COVID, it's just us. Um, we're still dying. We're still the health disparities,
Mm-hmm.
and so how that impacts women during when they're during pregnancy um, is tremendous. Is tremendous, and so we're noticing that a lot of people, and this is uh, womb bearers of all colors, are fleeing the hospitals
Mm.
in fear of COVID to have home births. And I've heard about some unsafe, unassisted births. You know, there's videos, like anybody can post a video on how to, or you can take a course, but we're forgetting about the midwives. You
Yeah.
know, everybody relinquishes their power to the OBGYNs, and then you leave a hospital not feeling empowered, not feeling educated enough. Why did I get this C-section? I didn't. And as a midwife, our the way we are trained is informed consent. We're trained to, it is her body. It is, you know, it's their body. Fill her, give her the opportunity to be filled with so much information so that she can make decisions about her
Yeah.
body. And then she can make decisions about her birth and her baby and postpartum, what she wants and how she wants to heal.
Mm.
And so our primary goal is just informed consent, restoring the balance of power. It's not ours; it's theirs, and we're just of service, holding space. Like you said, it's on the birth is on that in that middle of life and death.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we were told, our traditional, our ancestor, our mothers said from womb to tomb, like doulas,
Mm.
midwives, all birth workers. Especially I'm almost 50, and so I've been practicing 20 years. So definitely I've been called to hold the hand of someone in transition. On the other side, my own mother, I helped midwife my mother to her transition, and so that is just part of what we do as birth workers. Well, if you step into that, especially as midwives,
Yeah.
it's from womb to tomb, and you have to sit with families in their joy and in their grief, and everything in between. The first moon cycle, all of those celebrations of life, all of those
Yeah.
rites of passage. So yeah, right now I think what's really important for example, in the East Bay,
Yeah.
there are 5 home birth midwives, 5 Black home birth midwives. There are nurse midwives working in the hospital, but if all these women are fleeing, Black and
Mm-hmm.
brown women are fleeing, and they want a skilled, trained midwife who looks like them, then we have a situation that is not sustainable. It never was, because uh, it's not set up to be covered by certain insurances. It definitely wasn't set up for poor women or low income women to have home births. For example, Black and brown midwives charge half of what white midwives charge for home births. They charge like 7 to 10,000. And if I'm coming to your home and you're on Medi-Cal and living with your mama, can I really, although the expense might be that high, I have to look at you and say, okay, I guess we're trying to barter, right? Like we trying to get 300 and some earrings. Like, I'm just the chicken, trying to get a chicken
My
and some
G.
greens.
My G.
And then is that sustainable when we have families? Because a lot of midwives are mothers,
Yeah.
household, trying
Yeah.
to sustain household. So what does that do for our household when we're 3 days away, 2 days away, driving? So yeah, so coming together collectively, trying to find ways so that we're not taxing the community,
Mm-hmm.
we're elevating. Like, okay, there are midwives who are trained and skilled and licensed and certified who can help you, especially if you're a healthy woman,
Yeah.
healthy. You decide, a womb bearer, you decide to have this baby at home or a birth center. But how do we make it sustainable for you? How do we make it accessible for Black women who live in the projects to Black women who live in the mansion? All levels. And then how do we keep our midwives in business so that we don't burn out? And then
Yeah.
we inspire other midwives, because that's the thing. The disparities is because not everybody wants this life of being on call and
Yeah.
being responsible, legally. Um, so, so yeah, we've have formed a collective for the first time. There was no collective 20 years ago,
Mm.
and we're trying to create a fund called the Bay Area Black Birth Fund, where if women don't have the money, the fund that we collect from community will help to pay for your home birth and also pay a reasonable fee to the midwives, so that
Wow.
that we're not subsidizing from the air. We're not subsidizing these births because we're not on salary. We only
Yeah.
get paid what you give us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's. I mean, I appreciate the work that you're doing so much in that conundrum around the community responsibility, and then again that idea of having to barter right
mm,
within our own communities, because the reality is that the way Black midwives, and I want to address that I do believe that I referred to you as a doula earlier,
well,
and I
yeah,
apologize.
that's okay. I'm
I
a doula
apologize.
too.
Yeah, but I didn't mean to demote you. I didn't mean to demote you. You're midwife and doula. Come on now, that's somebody who can play the roles. You said people who's about that life.
Right.
Uh, that in the work that you do, right? Not only with that recognition and recognizing properly, right? By word, by title, by role, because it is very,
Hmm.
very different roles.
Right.
Um, at the end of the day, y'all should be able to charge triple for what they did to the Coke Crush. Now, come on now,
Okay. Come on now.
is what it really is. And so to me, not for nothing, but my dream for you is that you at least get every quarter at least one or two births with white money. It ain't got to be white people. Ain't got to be a birth with white money on that shit. Some Beyonce money on that shit. Something. You know what I'm saying? Little something. Little something. Cause come on now. Come on now. I mean, on top of the fact that gynecology is also built on the backs of black women, quite literally.
Definitely, literally, yeah.
So I think figuring out and being clear about what it is that is needed, what it is that is possible, and it does bring into account also the fact that so many of us, based on zip code, do not have the opportunity to have the generational wealth that would allow for a system in which, one, I mean, structurally, insurance should not be tied to a job. Let's, come on now. Yeah. And should just cover whatever healthcare you need. And that's the end of the conversation.
Right.
But if it got to be tied to a job and what have you, the idea that y'all role is somehow relegated to having to do the rescue around the trauma of economics, the trauma of community violence, right? I mean, to me, I can't, I mean, this is only a little piece of anything I got to offer. This is bullshit, but this being what I do have to offer, I think it matters to me very deeply that folks recognize and understand not only the work that you're doing, but the history of it. And thank you for bringing that to light as well, because I mean, every one of these conversations, I learned so much more than I ever could have begun to, be thinking like, oh, I read the midwives book. I know shit. I don't know shit. I don't know shit. So, karate, I learned karate out of a textbook. That ain't nothing.
You know more than both. You know more than most, though. So
Ralph Macchio, no, I don't know. I don't know. Getting the real dojo, I'll be in trouble. So thank God you're there. Thank God you're there. Well, right on. Where are they? That is wonderful. I do want to make sure that we get the information one more time on the fund. So if you would give that to us one more time.
Yeah.
The Bay Area. What is it?
Yeah, the Bay Area Black Birth Fund.
Area Black Birth Fund. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a GoFundMe right now if you want to contribute, and
Excellent.
Just put your money where your heart is.
All right. And at the same time, I'm putting some comments up. You getting some requests for training folks to build an army.
Okay.
Right? Some folks friends of the show, some folks you don't. The Queen's asking, can you train us, build up an army and to assist and support? Khadijah Wyndham Renix, my very own sister. Saying she got to talk to me about this, and I'm gonna say, D, I am not. No, see, I don't know shit. That's what I just said. Don't ask black women. Don't talk to me. We fuck everything up. That's all. I mean, man is a bold statement for what I am, but also just no. I don't. Don't talk to me. Talk to midwives. Shit. Let's see, on the screen right now, Tracy has given us the GoFundMe for the Black Bay Area Birth Fund. So viewers, yes, thank you, Tracy. Be looking for that. And thank you so much for your time today. I mean, there's so many other projects you're involved with. We're going to have to just have you back because I promised you we keep you for just about an hour. And we've been over. Because it's good. Because it's good to me.
It's been fun. Thank you so much.
This has been fantastic. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much. Hang out if you can. It's going to be just as weird and tripped out as it was at the beginning.
Okay.
Because now, we acted like. And so watch this. So thank you very much to my guest today. See, you can't hear it. That's Asatu Hall. Give it up for Asatu Hall. I'm not going to put the fundraiser up there yet. I'm going to just talk to you for a second. Thank you to all of you who are here. I hope that these conversations are good for you, are fun, or are fun, are something that matters to you the way that it does to me. You know, I mean, this started, and we were just silly goose time, and serving pancakes and beauty tips, all sorts of shit. And you know, the thing is that we've been talking about this, and I've been saying it since we got on air, and I've been saying it because the government which you have elected is inoperative, and that has never been more true. I've often talked about systems of whiteness and said that the shit is working exactly the way it's supposed to work. Let me tell you something. White people are scared right now. This is not fucking the way it's supposed to work at all. Okay? We are in some shit. And so when we're looking at the circumstance that we're in, we're going to need to surround ourselves not only with funsies and good times. I love songs. I got jokes, but I was looking at the green light. I forgot she was there. Not only is it that we really do have to talk about the real stuff, right? And I know that, you know, at the beginning of this, we talked about them COVID babies. Them COVID babies are being born now. So we're 5 months in. This is it. We're here. The transitions out are going to be happening, and they're going to be happening more frequently, and it's going to be happening fast. And I am not saying this as a scare tactic. I'm saying this because I love you and because I care about you, and because I do have the opportunity to be adjacent to conversations where I'm hearing from medical health practitioners on the regular, and it is the same story from them every time. If you wear a mask, you are saving lives. If you stay home, you are saving lives. If you wash your hands, you are saving lives. It's very, very simple. And yet, the death cult that is running this country has made it very, very hard. And so in that, I hope that part of what is happening in the time that we're spending together under the philosopher's tree is just, I said that very weirdly, philosopher's tree. I don't know what the fuck that was. I make words. In the time that we spend under the philosopher's tree, that we really are able to recalibrate ourselves and our spirits, and to strengthen ourselves, because you know, as I've said for a while, it's going to get worse before it gets much, much worse. And after it does, we will still be here, and we will have to make it better, because that's what we do as Black folks. We leave the place more beautiful than we found it, and we have that responsibility again. So, hey, thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. Listen, if if you have an extra shekel, could you do me a favor? We've been asking all month. Could you throw that to the Marsha P. Johnson Foundation? Of course, when we started talking about Marsha, we started doing that toward the end of Pride, and we started talking about this foundation obviously before the revolution began. So next month we will, as we did last month, have a new person, a new organization that we'll be looking to donate to. We'll figure that out. But for right now, a few more days, if you are able, if you have it in your means, and I know it is very, very hard to get done, could you please consider donating to the Marsha P. Johnson Foundation, marshap.org /donate. Black and brown, queer and trans artists in development, getting that help, getting the assistance that they need to survive in these horrible times. Hey, you know what you could do? You could become a patron of this here project, as did our friends Kristen, Renice, Michael, Natalie, Juliet, Tarika, Tracy. I can almost say that like the Masketeer thing now, because what's been happening is that y'all six are the only six, and a lot of you motherfuckers keep dropping $5 on it at a time, which is fine. I appreciate it. We love that and I appreciate the help. But you could save yourself money by just becoming a patron. And if you're one of the first 20, I will personally send you one of those trading cards with my face on it. You know who gets those? The first 20 patrons and the guests. Nobody else. It's an exclusive. You can be part of that if you want to, if you can afford it. And I know it's hard times. Do not feel obliged. I will never bogart. This will always be free. Fuck Zuckerberg. This has been Smoke and Mirrors. If you want to find my face without the words attached, you can find me at IG at El Caballo Negrito. At Twitter, you can find me at Caballo Negrito. For the monolingual, take a class. You can, do you have a suggestion? Do you have a thing we should talk about? Do you have a person I should talk to? Do you know someone super interesting? Do you have a complaint? Do you want to tell me to go fuck myself? You could write at smokeandmirrorsccb@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to support this project, the way to do that for absolutely free would simply be to share it to a loved one, somebody who needs to hear this discussion. Maybe they just need a laugh. Maybe they want to hear the discussion I had with Walida and Marisha about Octavia Butler in the future. And Octavia Butler was right. Maybe you want to hear the conversation with Forrest, where we were talking about the look that the youth are taking at the situation that we're in right now. And soon, you will be able to hear a conversation once again with my dear friend and collaborator, Dahlia Bell, who will return as the first return guest probably in about 2 weeks. This has been Smoke and Mirrors. This has been produced and hosted. Oh, you be quiet, Siri. All in my ear. See, white ladies just be coming in at the last goddamn minute with they bullshit. This has been produced and hosted by myself, Carlos Kareem Wyndham. This has also been produced by Tracy Tatamy. Please do me a favor. Would you take care of yourself? Would you take care of each other? Stay home. If you're not going to stay home, please wash your hands. And if you got to be outside, for God's sake, cover your mask hole. Okay? Thank you very much. I love you. Bye. Have a great one. See you. Oh, I'll be here tomorrow. Ooh, wait. Come back tomorrow. You got to come back tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to be here all by myself, and I am going to talk about my nemesis. Nemesis. More than one. And I do have them in real life. I'm not going to name them. I think we're just going to keep it at my nemesis. I think that's the easiest way. Otherwise, I might get fucked up. Anyway, okay. Thanks, everybody. Love you. Bye. Bye.